Alright guys, welcome back to the Department of Filtration. Today we're going to be looking at a WIX 57145. Now, I see a lot of US guys, this is a pretty sort of common brand filter. You can there's a lot of video guys if you're doing it, but this is in Australia, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to get a hold of. They're sort of fairly rare, you don't see them in many stores at all, so this will be interesting for me. It's the first one I've actually ever seen in real life. So there's a fair bit on the box. WIX filters 57145. Barcode. Quality filtration since 1939. Made by Man and Hummel. Good on here. Just telling you the read operator's manual for your service interval. Rightio. There's a bit of info on the inside tags too. Fillet manufacturer's procedures. Rightio, so we got a date code on the bottom, the WIX sticker on the front, installation instruction there, part number, made in Mexico. Alright, so I've got a rubber gasket there. Sticks up pretty nice, but look at that. Stuck in pretty well too. It's nice and thick. Stays on there pretty well. Now I've got a nice center hole there. There are 8 inlet holes. They look pretty nice there. Like using pretty good use of the space. Not too small. We'll get this cut open and have a look at it. Rightio, so I've got that cut open. Taking a look at the base plate. A little bit of rust there that we can see. Just for the fact of what I said before about the WIX filters in Australia, I'm going to take the fact that, I notice this has got a bit of rust on it too here. I'm going to take, for the benefit of the doubt on this particular filter, that rust is not going to be standardized as such. Like I don't think it's going to be a common thing. I know from a fact that this thing was imported from the UK. It's sort of been sitting around for a while, this particular filter, and nobody's really bought one. So that's I reckon that's what the go is with this and why it's a bit rusty. But I'll just take that ring off again. But that base plate looks really nice to me. We've got 4 threads, real nice flow there. And on the back, Yeah, a bit of rust, but it's pretty solid. It looks good. You see the thickness through there. Not a bad base plate. And a nice looking anti-drain back valve here. A silicon one. Made by Parker. And it fits pretty nicely on there. Covers up the holes. And have a nice, real nice sealing surface in there. You can see that the top of the canister that sits in there. Very nice. And then you got the support here too, so that when it springs back, when it bends, it's got a nice spring back there from these. So that's definitely a nice valve there. Take these bits out. We got a spring, measure up can. Look at that. Fairly thin can, looking at about 0.3, 0.4 of a mil there. But it feels pretty good, like that, and the things on the end are designed well. That certainly could be better. I know that WIX make a few different grades of filter, like the XP and stuff like that, and this is a base model, so that would surely be one of the things that they would improve in their other filters. But there's that really nice coil spring there. As you could see before, it's got a very strong coil spring. I like that. Get a thickness on that. .3 mil. It's nice and thick. The only thing that's a little bit disappointing here is this. Now, as you would have seen before, sits on top of the filter, sits on top of the valve, goes on. Now, there's not particularly a problem with that, apart from the fact that I'm not too keen on metal-to-metal seal, which that is going to be making once there's no rubber between there and nothing to seal that. It's just a metal and metal. But I suppose the really heavy coil spring is going to help to seal that well. But it's still not ideal. I'd definitely like to see some sort of seal between there. We all know that metal to metal is just not the greatest. The other thing is the fact that it's sad that it could have a bigger filter element in it, but it doesn't. This is a typical filter manufacturer thing of, we've got a can this size, we've got 20 other filters that use this element, fits in there, far too short. If we made the filter that short, then people would start to ask questions. They'd be like, oh, that filter's too small. Doesn't fit my car. I don't want one that doesn't have a whole lot of element. So bang, out comes a metal adapter. Stick that on the top. And suddenly we lost a whole lot of filter element out of a can. It could have had great things. To give you just a quick reference to what I mean, I'm going to wheel out the old Fleetguard LF3615. This is the exact interchange for this filter. So look at the cans for a sec. This one was opened in a different way, but cans, that would have actually been down in there like that. So yeah, Very, very similar there, cans. Height, width. And then I'll give you a look at the element that coming out of the fleet guard. And already we can see huge difference in terms of height if you go off the .42mm. Fleet guard here makes space of the whole filter. 56. Big difference there, folks. And that's what I find disappointing about this filter. I know there's lots of filters on the market that are like that. I just wish manufacturers would actually just make, if they're going to make a filter, make it properly. Don't just take the element out of something else and go, she'll fit, whack an adapter on there, and she'll be all good. It's not all good because you almost see it as lying to your customers because they see a can that's the same size and they're like, yep, it'll have a good amount of element in it for me, and it simply just doesn't. But moving on from that particular fact, I do like the seal of that around the top. It sits in there nicely, as you can see. Don't like the metal on metal seal, but it's there. The actual canister itself is quite nice looking to me. Cellulose, big strong metal end caps. Center core with holes. Bottom bypass valve. It's a nice soft material to help it seal properly. It's not just metal on metal like the top. Pleat spacing looks quite nice too. There's a few big gaps around the seam, metal seam, but that's normal. Let's get this cut open and see how long it is. Rightio, so we've got the media cut out and we're looking at 98 centimeters long, and in terms of width, approximately 45mm. So like I said, it's not the greatest amount of filter media in that filter. It's good for the size of the canister, like the element itself. That's a good amount of cellulose, but for the size of the can, they expected greater things. To give you a reference, the fleet guard that we've done a different video, roughly about 1.4 of 1.14 meters, and the total height's around about 55mm. So that's considerably more filter media in that. But let's stick this under the microscope and have a look at it, see what we got. Alrighty, so that's the media there. It looks like pretty nice actually. It looks a bit like a semi-synthetic to me in the microscope. A little bit hard to see currently, but there is a bit of a shine to it in the light. I think it's probably a semi-synthetic with a very small amount of synthetic in there. But apart from that, there's no issues there with that. Once again, it's got a nice amount of glue down there. The holes look fairly well cut. They're not sharp or nothing, and there's no issues there. Looks like really nice. So the end result on this filter, there's nothing wrong with it. The thing that I don't like is the metal on metal seal there. but they do compensate for it well with this extremely heavy duty spring. And I think, I doubt whether you would get much leakage past that metal to metal with that really heavy spring on there. The can is just average thickness, but it's got a nice base plate, good flow. Gasket's nice and thick and it stands up well, stays on well. Very solid centre core, nice spring bypass. Very nice anti-drain back valve on it. Good quality media. The biggest thing with this filter is you're just simply not getting a canister full of filter media. This adapter is just something that is just really annoying like that. This has got some really nice features. And if it was a complete, like if it actually took up all the space in the can, I would like this filter a lot. It's quite nice, good features, but it's just really disappointing when they go and whack an adapter in there. Now I'm interested to see, I'm just going to sit this back together without the spring. I wonder if you can tell by looking at it on the shelf. I reckon you can if you look hard. You can see down the hole. It's pretty hard to see. I'm just going to take that off because you can see it down the hole. If you just trust me, you can see it, but not hard with the camera. You can see that there's the smooth part and then the holes start. So looking at this filter on the shelf, you would be able to tell by looking down the center hole that it's an adapter filter. There's an adapter in the top to make the smaller canister fit inside it. So there you have it. That is the WIX 57145 oil filter.